Hello there. Welcome to another Next.io Spotlight session. Today we're going to be looking at the fascinating topic of the role of AI in shaping positionless marketers. So yes, AI has really invented this new marketing archetype of the future, the positionless marketer, and it raises some big questions with it. So like, how can you utilize AI to become a positionless marketer too? And what strategies will benefit iGaming companies as they transition to positionless marketing? We're going to find out right now in this fantastic Spotlight special edition with the CEO of the wonderful Optimove. Welcome back to the podcast, Pini Yakuel. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Ocean. Thanks for having me again.
You are so welcome. It's great to catch up. And I really wanted to bring this back to a talk you gave at one of your events, Optimove Connect, and it was fascinating. And it kicked off with a lot of basketball analogies and a lot of analysis and a lot of your own personal passion for the sport. So tell me, the biggest question today is, are you watching the NBA playoffs?
Of course I am. Of course I am. Living in Tel Aviv makes it a bit hard with the hours, as a lot of the games are at 4 a.m. in the morning. But yes, I'm watching a lot of highlights from time to time. If it's a really important game, I'm gonna wake up in the middle of the night. But yeah, loving it.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. And, of course, this has been some big news with the Lakers. What do you think about what's happening with them in the playoffs? Do you think that maybe LeBron James can come in and win it all one more time?
I don't think so. I don't think he can win it all again. But
Yeah,
it seems like these playoffs have symbolized the change of the guard, right? So you're
yeah.
seeing LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant are all out of the playoffs after round one, and you have new names, new stars, younger lions, which is very natural and good to the sports, I'm guessing.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. It's kind of how things are going at the moment, and it's very much in line with what you were talking about in your presentation and this whole concept of the positionless marketer. And I like very much that you came to a famous quote by LeBron himself, and the quote said, "I'm not a point guard, a shooting guard, a small forward, or a power forward. I'm a basketball player." So, what was it about his quote that really appealed to you there, Penny?
For sure. Yeah, I think for me, kind of like the reason I coined this phrase, which is called the positionless marketer, it's essentially I'm borrowing this notion from basketball, which in basketball we call it positionless basketball, right? And basically what LeBron said about himself, he said, "I'm a positionless player." And the reason it's interesting is because it symbolizes a tectonic shift in basketball. So it's interesting that a game like basketball, which is a sport, essentially the rules haven't changed. It's the same rules, but the game has evolved tremendously in the past 20 years. And the reason I'm such a good person to actually notice that is because I used to watch basketball, loving basketball when I was a teenager, when Michael Jordan was the star and the Chicago Bulls or all the rage. So I used to, and then basically after high school, I lost interest and I stopped watching it or paying attention. So the entire kind of like LeBron and Kobe Bryant era, like I knew of them, but like I never really looked at it deeply. I didn't follow. And then basically what brought me back was again Michael Jordan with the documentary The Last Dance, which I watched, and it kind of like brought back the passion. Now I was 42 or something, so all of a sudden I'm starting to watch basketball again, and I haven't watched it for like 24 years. And then I see that the game has completely changed, right? So that they're shooting threes all the time, they're like much more athletic, they're doing different things, the spacing on the floor, like something, massively changed. And I started to study that and trying to understand what that was. And the biggest change essentially, and I think this is something we can take to business and we can learn from it, is basically basketball traditionally is played with specific positions, right? So
Mm.
typically the shortest player is the point guard, and the role of the point guard is to distribute the basketball, to facilitate for other people, to be the floor general. And typically the tallest player is called the pivot or the center or the number five. And usually that person needs to be below the basket, rim protector, grab a lot of rebounds, play with the back to the basket, do a post up game, and usually coaches would teach, and there's more role roles, like the shooting guard, the small forward, power forward, different roles, right? Different positions.
Mm.
And typically coaches would classify a kid at a very young age and would tell that kid, "Oh, you're a tall kid, so you're going to be a center. So let's teach you how to be a center, right? This is how you grab a rebound. This is how you play post up. You need to know how to dribble, but you don't need to dribble as well as a point guard, right? Because the point guard's always with the ball. They need to dribble really, really well. So the ball handling skills, right? And this, so this is traditionally today. Essentially, the game became positionless. So you're seeing players that do multiple things, right? So you can see a very tall player that is supposed to be, the center, play the number five, but you would see that player a lot of times really far from the basket. That player may shoot a lot of threes. That player may have really good ball handling skills. They can maybe run court to court. They're doing things that are basically becoming more diverse, so there's more versatile. There's more versatility on the way they play. Their skill set is being enhanced, and the gamut of the things that they can do is much much higher than what was before. And a few examples of that was like Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is the Greek freak. The reason they call him the Greek freak is because he's so tall, but then he dribbles, he runs court to court, he does he does guard like things. He doesn't shoot that well. But then a very recent example is Victor Wembanyama,
Oh yeah.
which is a 19-year-old French player that's basically 7'4", which is insanely. It's 228, I think. It's like insanely high, but very nimble, very agile, a freak athlete as well. And he shoots the three, he shoots jump shots, he takes the ball behind his, he does just these amazing things, and he's so tall. So, and of course, Steph Curry, that completely changed the game, because Steph Curry can, people say that you need to start guarding him at the parking lot, because he may shoot the ball from the parking lot. So and he gives like
Right.
all this, a ton, and he's also not a classing point guard. He's a
Yeah.
point guard, but he's the best shooter, and when you start to see kind of like why it happened, there's like three main reasons that caused, this transition. So one of them is actually data. So basketball GMs and basketball analysts started to look at the data, and this was led by Daryl Morey, who's today the GM of the 76ers at the time at Houston, and started to basically study the data, and they found that it's much better to shoot a three-pointer if you can hit it more than 33% versus a two-pointer that you hit it typically at 50%. So 3 points at 33%, 33.33, right? The expected value is 1 point. So you're still getting 1 point. So if you can get a little bit better at threes, right? So the game is actually rigged, right? Somebody decided to say, okay, this is the line over here. And when you go over that line, if you shoot here, it's 3 points. So now they're understanding that. So you're seeing people do the step back, right? So they're trying to go cross the line so they get the 3 points. A lot of things like that. So data played a huge part. So today they shoot mostly threes and a very high percentage too, very close to the basket, which is also called the death of the mid-range. And it's not always true, right? But those things are definitely phenomena that you can see. So ultimately, data played a part in it, analysis, analyzing, the analytics guys, the data guys, how they like to play basketball. So that played a big part of it. The second thing was kind of like young players like Victor Wembanyama. They're watching TV, they're watching Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. They want to do those things. They want to dribble the ball. Like it's fine, he's very tall, but he doesn't want to. He's a young child. He wants to get excited, so he wants to do all the fun stuff. So that's another reason. And obviously, Steph Curry, as I mentioned. So all of that created the positionless basketball player.
Amazing, amazing. You are truly a basketball lover, getting up at 4 a.m. to watch the playoffs, and you've obviously kind of spent a lot of time watching the beautiful game. But talk to us a bit about what this means for marketers, because you coined this term a positionless marketer. A move away from hierarchies, a move towards agility. It's a whole new ball game, to
Right.
use a phrase there. So talk to us about the marketing aspect of this.
So I think if you think about the way businesses are ran, let's kind of like take a step back from even from marketing. So
Yeah.
typically, when a business is small, right, or let's say there's like a new startup, right? I was once a young entrepreneur, and I had my co-founder, and we sat in one room, and we had 3, 4 employees. That's it, right? So typically the founders are positionless employees. We sometimes you call it, I wear a lot of hats, right? So the founders are typically people that you're gonna write a piece of code, then you're gonna get on a call, and you're gonna pitch a product and try to sell it. Then you're gonna be on another meeting, and you're gonna decide on what you want to write on the website, which is marketing, right? How do you want to describe your product or service? and then you're going to write a blog, which is content marketing, and the next day you are thinking of how you're going to get a loan, which is finance. So you're doing all of those things, and typically entrepreneurs are very much a positionless people. That's why I'm so excited from that thing myself. And I like it because number one, it's insanely efficient. And number two, it's fun. It's a lot of fun because just like Victor Wembanyama, loves shooting, 3 pointers and dribble the ball and kind of like and do a lot of cool moves that people like Kyrie Irving do. Then same, I think for people don't like to be put in a box, right? If I can tell you, hey, Ocean, I think let's dabble in this, or let's have some fun with that. If you can guarantee a good result, and if you can provide that product with a good enough of a quality, yeah, I would love for you to do it. What
Yeah.
happens when you start scaling? You start to build the business start to look more and more like an assembly line, right? It's just
Mm.
like a think about Charlie Chaplin, modern times, right? The assembly line, or the car assembly line with Henry Ford, and all of those teachings of how it's done.
Yeah.
And the concept of an assembly line is the concept of speciality, right? So, hey, I'm a subject matter expert at this. So if I do this again and again and again and again and again, I can guarantee you with high quality of a deliverable, right? Because I specialize in it, right? So, and especially when you talk about, obviously medicine and doctors, right? You're going to see the back specialist, or the ortho, or the ENT, or you're seeing somebody who knows a specific area of the human body much better than others, because just like there's so much knowledge to be gained, which becomes impossible for one person to actually be positionless, right? It's really, really
Mm.
hard. Hint, hint. This is where AI is going to kick in a second, right? But but I'm still basically warming up the concept. So when a company scales, essentially you start to hire people with specific positions, right? So it's marketing, the sales, you have engineering, you have a lot of different positions, and also within it, right? There's kind of like in marketing, you have somebody who specializes in content, and somebody who specializes in aesthetics and design, and how you design different things in Photoshop, or wherever. And then you have somebody who's doing more analysis, right? So like a data person within marketing. Hey, somebody's good with numbers, right? And then you have somebody who's like a project manager, somebody's good with operations. I can herd all the cats together and make sure that this project actually gets there on time. So, and each person's got a different skill set, right? The numbers guy is the numbers guy, and the project manager that can herd the cats, and is very organized, probably, right? And they're a good communicator. And you got all of these different archetypes of people. What's the problem? So essentially, the way we do things as humans, we do those things in just understanding that that's like an inevitable price, right?
Mm.
It's an inevitable price. You cannot scale a business without building, marketing department. Within marketing, you got to bucket, you got to, build those silos and create those functions. And that's how we do things. And typically to produce something, so if you think about what Optimove does, we're doing CRM marketing campaigns. So if I want to send a campaign for my VIP customers on Wednesday, I want to tell them about something, I want to get them excited about something, I want to send this campaign over email, or mobile message, and push marketing or something like that. Eventually, I need to there's a set of departments that I need to go through to basically organize and orchestrate that campaign from ideation to execution. So from the moment I ideate this campaign, so somebody, maybe it's a VP of marketing, or somebody in the department, or a team came up with this idea, we're going to send a message on Wednesday, and we're going to talk about A, B, and C, and we want to do it for VIP. So now you need to go to the data team and tell them, hey, who's my VIPs? How can I find them? How many of them do we have? What's the definition? What's the criteria? How do we build a segment? How does that
Yeah.
look like? Who gets it? Who doesn't get it? Right?
Yeah.
So maybe VIPs will be created in real time. How do we analyze it? How do we understand it? Right? So there's a lot of, you need to talk to data people. So they would eventually give you the criteria of the list of people or something like that. Go to the design team. Hey, I want to build this campaign, and I need what's going to be the copy. How are we talking about it? What's going to be the leading image? Like, what's our thesis here? How are we thinking about the image? what's going to be this, what's going to be that, right? So you go to the design and copy people. So you write it out, and then you go to the people who do operations. Well, do we set it up in Optimove? How do we set it up? Is there other systems? How do we integrate with our bonus engine? Like, how are we going to tell the bonus engine on Monday or Tuesday, right? So you go through a few different departments to ultimately get the job done.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Right. And so you're painting the picture where things are quite siloed, they're quite hierarchical, everybody's got a title, they stick to the title, and things have to be passed back and forth between departments, and
Right.
this is everyone's in their
And then
position.
what happens? And then
Right.
what happens?
Yes.
It takes a lot of time.
Yes.
It's error prone, right?
Right. Right.
It's the time from ideation to execution ultimately becomes longer and longer and longer.
Right. Okay.
Because if I need to coordinate with a designer, a project manager, a data person,
Yeah.
and each profession you add, like the time kind of like grows by another step, right?
Right.
So every profession you add, it takes you much more time.
Right. And you did
Oh my
mention.
God, we just have one data guy and that person is sick this week.
Yeah.
Or
Oh my
they're
goodness.
on vacation. They're in south of Spain, in Marbella, and drinking margaritas on the beach, right?
Yes.
So,
I know. I
so
hear
what do
you.
we do, right? So
Yeah.
everything takes more time. There's a lot of dependencies. There's broken communication. If
Yeah.
I why somebody's going to say, how come the designers told me it's going to take them a week to do it? It's
That's
a
it.
picture.
That's
What's the
it.
problem? I've done it myself. Just go to Google, take the picture, move it around in Photoshop. Like, why are they saying it's a week? So we don't understand one another. Because I've never been a
Yeah.
designer. I've never tried to do it myself. So everything they tell me, a
And
week out
yeah,
there.
not
Anyhow,
great. Yeah.
so
Not great for communications between departments as well. But you did mention it.
right.
I'm going to invite you now to come back to the two letters that everyone is living and breathing by these days. AI. So
Yes.
you
So
painted a
AI is
picture.
the answer.
Companies are scaling.
Right.
How does AI fit into this? What does it mean for the positionless
Right.
marketer?
So basically, to basically, if you feel confused by now, don't feel bad about it. I was trying to confuse you on purpose, but I kind of like laid the ground to bring it home. And the way you bring it home is you say, okay, so in order for marketers to become positionless, right?
Mhm.
So I need to be able to do a little bit. If I'm a data guy or a numbers guy, I need to do better writing than what my genetics, gave me to begin with, right?
Mhm.
So I need to be enhanced. Who's going to enhance me, right? And then the answer is obviously AI. We can see AI is kind of like the Iron Man suit. I think that's the best analogy. So Tony Stark is still inside. Tony Stark takes the big decisions. Tony Stark is the master orchestrator of everything, but the suit enhances him. It gives him superpowers. So
Right.
essentially, instead of having a content marketer, I can have a data storyteller, right?
Mm.
Just like in basketball, I can have a 3-and-D guy, right? So
Yeah.
all of a sudden you have roles. You don't have positions, you have roles. And the roles are made up of a few different traits that you possess, right? And now because I'm enhanced and maybe I can, and I'm pretty good with aesthetics. I'm not good enough to be a designer and I haven't spent the time, I haven't studied 4 years of visual communication in a fancy school. But I got a good eye. I got a good eye. People tell me I got, not me personally, but like, right? People tell me I got a good taste in things.
Mm.
So all of a sudden, with AI, maybe I can design a nice picture for my presentation or a nice image for my presentation. So all of a sudden, you find yourself with smaller teams that are the case essentially to produce a campaign or to produce a piece of work from ideation to execution. You require less departments and you require less departments more often. So yes, I will go to the data team from time to time. I'll go to them with a tough question, something that I cannot answer. But for the simple stuff, I'll do it myself with AI. I can upload an Excel file to ChatGPT and I'll say, give me the main insights in this Excel file. Get a very nice summary.
Oh.
I can use DAL-E to generate images. I'll get better at prompting DAL-E to give me better images. I can obviously write a lot better. So a lot of the things we can do, each and every one of us, we can become positionless. We can become a LeBron James of marketing.
I love it. I love it. But talk to us a bit about how this would work in an iGaming scenario. What are some of the typical things that this technology would empower the positionless marketer to do in their company?
It's mostly a mindset, and I think that mindset is not necessarily, it doesn't only apply for iGaming. I think iGaming, same as many industries, you have, especially in the realm of CRM marketing, people are building kind of like running a lot of CRM marketing journeys, a lot of campaigns, a lot of automations are running simultaneously at the same time. So this idea of ideation to execution is something that they do a lot. So now
Hmm.
how do you become faster? How do you iterate faster? How do you test and learn faster? So number one, using solutions like Optimove, where you can have all the data. And so your analytics, you're doing it in Optimove and you're doing it with the CRM team, not necessarily the data team. And the orchestration and the analysis after the campaign. You're doing it in Optiv and not necessarily using the help of a data team or an analytics team. So already you're removing it. But then once you enhance the users and the users, the people, right, the marketers are now being able to do more things than they did before. Less and less frequently they go outside to get extra help. So they become ultimately autonomous. They become like an autarky, right? So it's like it's a self-fulfilling market that all of their needs are being fulfilled internally. So when that happens, they're much, much faster. The communication is much, much better because it's smaller teams. We just talked last night. That's it. We know everything we need to know. You and I, done, right? So faster. And also, when I do go to speak to the designers, all of a sudden, hey, I see that it's not that easy to do what you do because I tried it myself. So like I feel you, I get you, I understand how it's like to be in your shoes. So now I'm more sympathetic. So the communication again becomes better again. So ultimately things become faster, test and learn, iterate. Those things are much, much better. And also for each and every one of us, we can unlock our multi-potentiality as humans,
Talk to us a bit about this concept
which
of
is fun.
multi-potentiality. I like this a lot. And the first time I heard it mentioned was in your talk at Optimove Connect. It's a great concept.
Yes, actually borrowed it from a TED talk. I forgot the name, but this woman talks about people with multi-potentiality that they don't necessarily want to. When she's challenging that question of what do you want to do when you grow up,
That was it.
and
Yes,
she's like,
yes.
I don't
Amazing.
want to commit to that. So that wasn't me. The positionless marketer is me, but that wasn't me.
Amazing. No, it's a great concept. It's basically, when we're growing up, mine was, hands in the air. It's an astronaut. I always wanted to be an astronaut. Will I be an astronaut? Absolutely not. But it's very much there's one thing and you have to go for it and that's it. But the multi-potentiality, the reason I really liked it when you talked about it, it's this idea that you can do lots of different things. You don't have to zero in on one particular thing. It's more entrepreneurial, it's more agile, it's more
Right,
cooperative.
right.
I mean, tick, 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 less boring work, more creative, more powered by technology. It's great stuff. So talk to us about how Optimove fits into this picture. Individuals with multi-potentiality, working in agile teams, doing more
Right.
work, better work. What does Optimove do? How does it all fit in?
So I think the reason I'm so passionate about this topic is because hint, hint, hint. We've always been about that, right? So we've
Yes.
always it's not new, right? So because I'm like that, so that's the type of product I like to build, right? So
Yeah.
I like to build a product that tells the marketers you're more than the few things you're doing. Instead of doing the main two things that you're doing, you can actually do five things. And even since 2012, when we launched Optimove, we've allowed marketers to become data driven.
Yeah.
Typically,
Wow.
data analysis was done elsewhere. So now we're saying marketers, hey, while you have your idea, you can basically do some research in Optimove, research the data, and figure out if your idea, adds up in the data. And if it does, go ahead and execute it yourself. And when you execute it, after a few days, go ahead and analyze it yourself. So this notion of positionless is already happening in Optimove. By the way, this is a double-edged sword. Sometimes with some companies, this is the reason why we have issues, and we could have issues because people are still pigeonholed in working in the old ways. So some people could be threatened by it. Some people don't like the fact that, one department can do more and more and more because it's their job,
Mm.
right? In the world of positions, in the world of positionless, you're supposed to, some of the departments are freed up to do more things which are strategic and infrastructural, things that only they can do that require much deeper levels of expertise, right?
Yeah.
Versus things like that. So that's Optimum has always been about that, but now with the advancements in Gen AI, we're just kind of like doubling down, doing
Wow.
more and more. So
Fantastic.
pretty soon one of the markets also do the design inside Optimum completely autonomously, right? We're gonna have them
Wow.
have even more access to the data even before they get trained with OptiGenie, which is our AI suite that you can ask it any question, just tells you what's going on in the data, tells you the insights automatically. So it's just the notion of doubling down on something that we've always been.
Yes. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, this is what Optimove has always been doing. It's always been kind of open up these opportunities and giving marketers and
Yes,
entire companies, these
yes.
more kind of tech empowered capabilities, taking away the friction, making things go faster, better, smoother, more optimizing everybody's skill sets. I love it. What's not to like? But let me invite you to take out your crystal ball for a moment there, Pini. Now, do you have an idea of maybe where this could go next? Is there such a thing as the positionless marketer version 2.0? What would that look like?
I think it's going to happen. I think essentially, younger generations by design, they're gonna, I still think you would have some level of subject matter expertise. It's still going to happen, but it's going to be less so.
Mm.
We as a race, we've been kind of like solving this problem with an assembly line type of mindset forever. And the more we can enhance each and every person, you can cross train them on more and more things to do, then it will basically create smaller teams, more nimble, or teams that can get a lot more done just because the issues with communication, the issues with confusion, the problems with misunderstanding one another will just be eliminated. I think it will definitely happen. The thing is, companies that would do it sooner would have an edge, definitely have
Right.
an edge. If you think about what's the difference between startups and established companies, it's one main thing: speed.
Yeah.
That's it. It's speed. A startup is very, very fast. You want to make a change, a week, it's done. Like old company, you got 5,000 stakeholders, go convince everybody. Now, if you once you decided to do it, let's do it. Now you got to go through all the professions, and you got to listen. There's a ton of opinions, and then you actually to do it. And, a lot of people can talk about it. Very few people can actually do it. So you go to so you start to produce it. It's much much harder. So I think it will allow bigger companies to be faster and faster.
Amazing, amazing. So we are actually coming to the end of our time here. It's been fascinating as always. It sounds like the future is bright. The future is positionless. And if you want to move at the speed of the future, you really need to embrace AI, use tools like Optimove, like OptiGenie to really get on the right side of what is inevitable. And it's been fascinating as always, Penny. Thank you so much for joining us on Next IO Spotlight.
Thank you.
Viewers, don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell your friends about the Next IO Spotlight. Reach out to Optimove and to Pini and his team if you want to be on the right side of this very, very exciting future. We will see you next time.